Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really rapid-fire, high-stakes sequence of events between the United States and Iran. I mean, it's a classic case of diplomatic whiplash. We're going to break down exactly what was said, what was averted, and what was fiercely denied.
Okay, let's dive into this. Are the US and Iran heading for conflict, or are they heading for talks? You know, that question seemed to literally have a different answer every few hours during this entire news cycle. We're looking at a situation where the public messaging from two global powers just completely collided, leaving the whole international community guessing. Let's look at the facts and see exactly how we got to this crossroads.
Let's move to and see how this builds. To really grasp the gravity of this disconnect, you have to look at how rapidly these events unfolded. First, the US calls off strikes against Iran. Okay, huge news. Then, the US claims new talks are going to start on Monday. But then, abruptly, Iran flat out denies that claim. So we jump from extreme military tension to this sudden burst of diplomatic hope, and then straight into a brick wall of denial, all in just an incredibly rapid sequence.
Let's pause and look at what was actually avoided here. The military action that was called off by U.S. President Donald Trump wasn't characterized as some minor skirmish or a small tactical maneuver. No, it was specifically described by him as a massive strike on the country. The globe was literally standing on the precipice of something vast, and then suddenly that action was just pulled back right from the brink.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the narrative attempted this dizzying pivot following that averted military action. President Trump claimed that a diplomatic resolution was basically imminent, stating that new talks focused squarely on ending the conflict would begin on Monday. It was a complete shift in the theater of engagement. We're talking about moving directly from the battlefield to the negotiating table over a single weekend.
But, well, here is where everything grinds to an absolute halt. On one side, you've got the U.S. claiming these new talks begin on Monday, and on the other, Iran entirely denies the claim. We are looking at two starkly different public narratives colliding in real time. There's absolutely zero shared reality here between the two nations regarding these supposed talks. One side announces the meeting, the other side says, actually, it simply isn't happening.
So, the crucial point is the sheer disconnect of this single diplomatic exchange. It's undeniable. Massive strikes are called off, talks are claimed to be starting, and then those exact same talks are immediately denied. It's basically a masterclass in how fragile and honestly chaotic international communication can be when you're trying to navigate away from a crisis.
Which brings us to the ultimate unknown, with military strikes officially called off by the US, but diplomatic talks explicitly denied by Iran. Where does the conflict go from here? This unresolved tension leaves the entire situation in a sort of strategic, ambiguous limbo. Thank you so much for joining this Explainer. Keep this exact question at the forefront of your mind as you watch the world stage, and we'll see you next time.